Hey, what's up? So I recently just released a song called Nirvana, and it's a song that has met some, considerable uh, attention. I rarely get views that exceed 75. Yeah, my YouTube channel is basically in its infancy, so even the way the content is taken in and digested is really pretty basic, but you get a start somewhere. So this was practically my first official video I've ever done. I've got a bunch of videos on my YouTube channel, as is already obvious, but this one is the first official music video I've ever done, and it was actually a thrilling experience to shoot it myself and edit it myself. Of course, the first few shots I had the help of a friend, but the rest of the shots that make the entirety of the music video, I practically shot them myself. Shot them in different locations and different neighborhoods. Some shots were within Unza, others were somewhere around home and all that stuff. But just the whole experience of editing the music video was nice, as a creative, you need to reach a level where you can do your own thing. I don't see the necessity in having to needlessly pay producers when you could learn these skills and independently just do your own thing. And when you're in a space where you're doing your own thing, you bring out what it is that you want to bring out from the song, because you know exactly what you want to bring out. And basically the meaning of the song is that, you see, life, allow me to quote Sam Harris when he says, it's like the whole of life is just designed to rubbish our efforts at happiness or at being happy. There's a lot of things that just hit you unprepared. Tragedy just strikes when you least expect it, and tables turn when you least expect it, and you can't fully plan for unforeseen tragedy. So it's just about how you're going to approach the situation should it hit. So the song is basically talking about there's practically no point to overstress yourself about things that you have little to no control over. So the best you can do is just, with mental resilience and grit, walk through each day and let everything just hit you, you know what I mean? Because to a large degree, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't reinvent the wheel. To live is to suffer, but life is practically a gift from who knows where. So you need to be in a position where suffering reaches a point where it doesn't choke you anymore. It's not a pessimistic viewpoint, but it's just like, being practically aware of the situation that you're in within the human experience. And that situation is bound with suffering, ups and downs and all that stuff. But in the little moments, you can find some room for happiness and peace of mind, good friends, music, books, and all that stuff. And if you've noticed, my whole content just basically tries to draw attention to intellectual reasoning and inquiry, which is basically mounted on philosophy and science. More especially science, because I like to consider myself a scientist first before a philosopher. Not really a scientist, but a science enthusiast before a philosophy enthusiast. So, yeah, because I practically feel philosophy that's not guided by science is just like blind religious myths. So you need to be in a position where if you're going to philosophize, at least have it mounted in scientific truths and facts. And another point worth mentioning is what I am essentially doing is trying to open the conversation to have conversations about the most important topic of all, God. If there's a topic that's out there that is really so important and needs so much of our attention, we need to have conversations about. It's entirely God. I don't see how there's any reason or prudence in scapegoating the question or in ducking the question, because in one way or another, you're going to have to face it. So you need to be in a position where having this God conversation, be it in a very hostile situation, shouldn't be so hard a thing to do. You should get used to it. That's what we're here to live for. If there's a game, if there's any ball game that is like good for grown-ups, it's conversations about God. And with that, I'd like to quote John R. Shook from his book, The God Debates, a 21st Century Guide for Atheists and Believers and Everyone in Between. So he says this regarding God debates, or basically just conversations. He says, if the God question instead halts thinking and stops the conversation, we lose humanity. So let the God debate go on. You know, because we need to be in a position, and true to the quote, we need to be in a position where we can have conversations about the most important things in life, and what tops the list is the God debate, you know. And just as a side note, if you're someone who's already practically invested in reading philosophical debates for theism or philosophical debates against theism, you reach a point where you start to realize that no matter how good a debate, there's going to be another smart head who's going to poke holes through the debate. And how you approach that differs whether you're a theist or a non-theist. Usually, for me, it reached the point where I'm really, so it's not to blow my own horn, but I would say I'm slightly a little vested in philosophical debates for and against theism, you know. And there's a certain point I reached in my life where I felt like these were just like basically just mind games, you know. Like no matter how good, I was basically swinging to and fro between different arguments for the possibility of a transcendent being, you know what I mean? Sometimes I would swing between this argument. No, this one makes so much sense. And then you swing, and then you read the criticism, you go like, not really. Then you swing to the next one again, you read the criticism, you go like, nah, not really. And then so it becomes like, it becomes slightly disillusioning depending on the weight with which you attach the reading and the research. But it's also liberating and enlightening in this sense. If you are a non-theist, it simply goes to show that no matter how much good the arguments that have been postulated across history, there's always going to be another person who's going to poke holes through the argument. And you know what that basically goes to show? If there's definitely a stupendous, grandest conceivable being beyond the universe, or as argued outside the universe and outside space-time, I don't see a possibility someone with a maggot mind like ours would fully conceive of that being, should there be one, you know what I mean? But that is not to say the argument based on the Bible is not finished. I think that's a done argument. What's left right now is philosophical debate that goes beyond canonical records. So, continue the debate. Read as much as you can. I cannot overemphasize this. The only secret is reading as much as you can. The journey is not going to be easy. You're going to lose a lot of people along the way. I have. But I practically have reached a point where I don't care. Yeah. So you also reach a point where you're going to grow from the journey. It's interesting. I mean, what more could you possibly live for?